Arnold Young, and DanMatis is going to present this morning. And today is Friday, May the 2nd. And he's going to share with us 3 topics that he decided that might be really handy for us, because it was for him. So with no further ado, from Florida. Glad you could
Good
get up
morning.
this morning.
Yep, I did get up, and Glenn is here. I'm not wearing any sunglasses today. So to get started, first of all, the reason that I started going down this road was hopefully that I could simplify my process a little bit, since I consider myself more of a hack than a programmer, but I'm working in this direction of becoming a better programmer. But unfortunately, at this point, you cannot create an analysis or classes fully programmatically. You still have to go through the PCSoft tool. So when I started getting into the classes thing, I know we went through that at the WebDev Con last year and the year before, I believe also, as well as Andy and Pete have been kind enough to share a lot of their journey in teaching us how to do this. I wanted to start now getting into using classes, since most of what I've done in the past was very procedural. 2 things I didn't enjoy when I was starting to learn how to build the classes was, one was SQL, because I'm not very good at that, so I prefer the hyperfile. And the second was, when you were building the classes, you had to take all the information that was in your analysis and almost have to retype it or drag it and manipulate it and so forth. So the first piece that I'm going to show you this morning is how to basically build the code to set up your classes programmatically. And quite honestly, there's not a whole bunch to it, but of course, if anybody has looked through that help and those over 6,000 functions, you'll see that it's hard to find the right one sometimes. So pretty much when we were building classes, or I was learning to build classes from Pete, the first thing you had to do was build the record class. And that was basically taking all the different fields and then defining them in the base record class with the type it was. So I've just put together some smaller files. And here's an example. So if you just hit company, pretty much what it's going to do is it's going to give you your class definition, and it's going to take all the different fields in the file, and it's going to post it, and it's going to define what type it is. And pretty much here is an example of the main part of the class definition. And as you scroll down, you can see I started to build the methods. I have not built all the methods yet, but this is the part that I found when I was building classes with Pete, because I have a lot of files in my analysis, and a lot of my files have a lot of fields. And this was the part that was taking me the longest amount of time. So basically what I've built is something that you can go into this basically will pull up your entire analysis and all the different files, and then you can just select the file that you'd like, and it will build the code. And from here, you can then just copy it and paste it in as you are building the class. So that's
Nice time saver.
Well, I remember when I was watching Peter Holman's video first, and then when I think it was either Pete or Andy was explaining it, and everybody was, you're dragging it over, and then you're retyping and you're copying and pasting. And Arnold, I think you brought up once or twice that, is there another way to do that? So again, I'm kind of lazy, and I know that's the philosophy of a programmer is to try to be as lazy as possible. So let me show you how that gets done.
Sweet.
Pretty much there's this great little command in here called hlist files. And what that will do is it will pull all the data files from your analysis, and then you can then just stick them in a string. From there, when you're doing it, you have 3 different choices, and one is HList, one is HList Detail, and one is HList Detail Plus. And what HList Detail Plus does is it will give you the name of the item in the analysis, the type it is, the hyperfile type. It'll give you its size, the subscripts, which my understanding of that is if it's like a combo box, it'll tell you how many different options there are in that combo box. And then if it's a integer, or actually here's your caption, and then if it's an integer, it'll give you both sides of the decimal point. So pretty much what I did is we put that into there, and then from here, I just basically used a replace. So after it defines all those pieces, as you start to get into your classes, or actually in this situation, it will pull up that it's a number. So you have to say if it's a number, make it an integer. And if it's text, make it a string. And I think there was something with dates. I haven't added that yet, but dates would also, I believe, be texts. But, just for this simple example, this is where I was able to get the information. And then as far as the methods go, I believe there were a couple methods where there would be a few substitutions. So at this point, all I've done is taken the code that I was able to get out of Peter Holman's, because he did most of his classes with the hyperfiles. So that's more of what I'm accustomed to and used to. So his, which I'll show you a link to, gave you the ability to just basically copy his code, and then you can tweak it however you want. So down here, you'll see is all the code as far as setting up the first of the methods, which would be record save. And that's all there is to it. But again, if you're doing an analysis and you've got files that have 20, 30, 40 fields, and you've got 50 files in your analysis, a significant amount of your time is spent defining the fields and telling you whether they're strings or classes and etc. Okay, so that's my first piece. Any questions?
Any questions, anybody? Just open up your mic and ask, or type it in the chat at the bottom right of your screen.
I mean, even for a non-programming guy, that part's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's sweet. I mean, it always never made sense to me to have to go do all that typing, so you did a great job getting that done.
Okay. All right, so that's the first point. The next piece will be the setting up a website in Iis, or multiple websites, I should say. So, go here. Okay. And when you're in Iis, you have to go down to your sites, and you'll see I have multiple websites set up already. Now, of course, you do need to set up your DNS to point to the proper IP, and then you need to be on the right server when you're doing this. And then you have to upload your actual website so it's on the proper machine. And from here, what I'll do is you start off by you say, okay, oh, well, let me just show one other point actually from the previous one. This here, I put the webinar that I watched over and over was Peter Holman's on object-oriented programming. And then there is a link I put here. If you click on that, and it'll take you to the WinDev site where you can download. You have to accept it. And when you open that up, he's got his whole piece written up. And if you scroll through, you'll see he's got all the code for setting up classes. So you can basically just copy this code, paste it into your class, or set it up the way that I did, and it'll actually just build it all for you, and then you can do a replace. Okay, now back to the other piece. Okay, so to add a website to the same IP or on the same server, what you do is you start by saying, right-click on this, say you want to add a website. You'll tell it the new name. Okay. Then you have to select the physical path of the website. And the directory where the website is. Okay. Now you can set your first binding up at the same time, and then if you want to add additional bindings, we'll do that afterwards. So this server
What's the binding?
Binding, I believe, and again, I know how to get things done, but I know how to get it done. I may not be able to explain it as well, but the binding is to tie the website to the actual IP address.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So
I mean, that's what it looks like, but I was.
Yeah. So like in this situation, my web IP is this, and for here, I'm going to say www.item.us.com. Okay. And say OK. And then again, what I'll do in this situation here, I'm going to go back into the bindings from here, and I can add additional bindings. So I would say add, and just in case they forget the www part, I can do this. Oops, and you'll see I forgot to connect it to the IP. Okay, so now if they type in www.critum.us.com or just without the www, it'll list. The next piece that you do is you now need to set up what's called the default document. So you click on default documents. Now, for some reason, magically, these are all popping up for me, but if they didn't, which I will get rid of this one. What you would do is you say default document, add, and you would put in index.awp, because that would be the first page of the website.
Why is it automatically will pick index.html, huh? Or something like that?
You know, I don't know what it will do. I know it doesn't work out well.
Yeah, I think there's a default that you can set up, but
yeah, I noticed with some of the other sites that you could see a lot of things get inherited from a higher level, but I haven't quite figured out how to do that.
mm-hmm.
But what I have found is, you know, pretty much I've got it down to 4 steps. When you want to set up a new website, you get your DNS set properly, you upload your website, you perform these 4 steps, and you've got another website live, all off of the same IP address.
Bam, 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 huh?
Right? So that was 3 steps. The next one is now you have to set up what's called a handler. Okay, and that would be this here, the handler mappings. And you double click on that. And what it's looking for, and again, I have them in here now for some reason, but what you would do is you would say add script handler. Okay, and what you want to do, this is where you're telling the system how to handle the AWP files. because technically, I guess it's a script, and if it doesn't know how to handle that extension, you're not going to get any pages displayed. So here you put star.awp, so it knows how to handle all those pages. Then the next thing you do is you have to tell it where the executable is that will handle the AWP files. And that should be located in WebDev 18. And it's not a DLL, it's a executable. Well, I'm going to show you the shortcut that I learned because I can never remember it. I basically go into a different website, which you could use your default. And you find the existing one, right click on it, say edit, and it's this file. So it's actually WebDev 18, AWP, WD 180, 180 AWP executable.
So that depends on what WinDev version you're on, then.
Yes, absolutely.
180. Okay.
All right.
WebDev.
So going back here, I go into my map handlings. I would say add script manager star.awp, the executable that's going to handle it, and you can give it the name. I'll just give you a different one. Okay, now when this question comes up, again, don't know why, but I found in the help somewhere, the answer is no. And that's it. So now when I right click on here and I go to manage site and I want to do a browse, the site comes up. And that will come up with either www or this. Now, just to show you one other thing, if for some reason, to show you that it is working and that if you want to change something, you can go right click. The same place as far as manage sites. Somebody wants to talk to me. You say advanced settings and you'll see where we originally set this up. I could literally change the site by just doing this.
So to be clear, you're not opening Iis on your desktop. You've remoted to your remote server, and you're doing this.
Correct. I don't know. I guess you could open it on your own top. I don't know how you do that, but as far as anything else,
I would imagine you can. Well, what I mean is you would have a like a playground on your workstation of the site.
oh yeah, I like to live on the edge. I'm doing everything
Okay.
live.
Okay.
I'm not messing with my existing site right now, so. But here, so I'm going to change it from the one website to the other. So now it's hooked up to here. And when I go to this and I browse, now it's going to pull up a different website. And that's another website that I have on the same server. So I could shift it, move it around. I could have one website up, switch the site, test out a new website, and then, say I'm doing some revisions on it, and or I want to switch it completely. So is that clear? Or oh, and I also, Arnold, I also put together a piece with those 4 steps with screenshots similar. I like the way that Tim Cook had done his, Tim Fishbeck had done his little cookbook on how to set up a server a couple years ago. So I did the same type of thing where pretty much it's, the 4 key steps as far as how to connect your website and get it set up. Because in the beginning, I got a couple working and then I couldn't remember what I did to get it working.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, I said, all right, let me go back and make sure that I really know how to do this. And I I've got it down now. Like I say, it's literally 4 steps, but of course, like everything else out there, it's got to be the right 4 steps.
Yeah, if I get that, I'll post it up there.
Okay, so I'll send that to you and you can put that up
Yeah.
on the site. And, you know, the other thing I've noticed is I seem to know how to do something and then I'm trying to learn so much that 3 weeks later I have to go back and do something and I can't remember how I did that.
I know how
So
that feels. Yeah.
I'm getting a little better at slowing down as I do things and documenting it as I go so I have a reference and I'm able to go back and do the same thing and not have to relearn everything over and over.
Well, you do a webinar and rewatch the webinar too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. So that's the second point. Any questions as far as setting up a site, a second site or third site on WebDev and IIS?
I don't see any questions here.
Okay.
Well, you're
I will
being
move.
really clear, so I think people are hearing it.
Good. So now I'll move on to my third point, and that is having your WebDev site communicate with a WinDev site. And the reason that we had to do this, and let me just pull this up, is our company, or the company that I have, basically we're an electronics distributor. And pretty much what happens is the average rep will get somewhere between 50 and 75 calls a day, either outbound or inbound. And the process is repetitive. Somebody wants something, you have to look it up, you have to know what it's worth, you have to see if you can get it, you have to quote them a price. So you're constantly doing the same things over and over. So what we've figured out is 2 things happen in our business. One is when people are doing outbound dialing, they tend to dial about 35% of the phone numbers incorrectly the first time. So that's a huge waste of time. Second thing is they're constantly looking up other companies' information to see what our competitors and our suppliers' prices are. So we know how to properly quote the product that we do. So they, you know, in the past, we used to spend a lot of time copying and pasting part numbers, opening up browsers, and searching websites. So these are 2 of the features that we've built so far. So let me log in here. Now, basically, this is a list of all the different people that have been asking us for product. So I'm going to go into this specific request here. And let me move this over a little bit. And you'll see here, this is basically a company that's looking for a product. And here is a list of all the different people that supply this part. And again, this is a little bit other programming, but let me open up one of the piece. Okay. So this is the web interface that the salespeople are using. And again, salespeople can be anywhere in the world. So, you know, we've got them all over. So pretty much we're all working off of this. This data is all coming from the web server. And then on each person's desktop, they have a WinDev program that looks like this. And basically, we're calling it web support at this point. So in this situation here, just to show you, if a salesperson clicks on, say, this line here, what'll happen over here is you'll see the link comes up and it'll pull the website up for this specific part on the person's desktop. So they'll be able to see this particular company that they were clicking on, which was Galco. And it'll pull up the Galco site for this specific part number doing an inventory search on the SKKT 500. And you'll see it here. If we were to click on, let's get that out of the way. If we were to click on a second site, You'll now see it changes to that, and it'll pull up the second site. So rather than them grabbing, seeing this person, getting a link, opening a browser and pasting it, all this information just pops right up, and it's constantly like supporting whatever they're looking at. An additional thing that we've done is, say like in this particular situation, like on Galco, sometimes the suppliers will not post their pricing on the screen, so that's going to require a phone call. So what we'll end up doing in that situation is, while they're on this particular item, they can click Dial Supplier, and what popped up over here is it started dialing the phone. I'm not going to do that because they'll wonder why I'm calling them. So we've got the situation where, let's see if we can do it with let me just show you that one more time. So here, if I click on this company, hit dial, and boom, starts dialing the phone. And the reason we had to do that is because Skype is on your desktop. I've looked into trying to use Skype on a server, and apparently, you know, that's that whole concept of server and browser and all those fun things. So by leaving Skype on your desktop, it operates like Skype normally does. But what you can do is you can pass the information that you need to dial the phone. Same thing up here. I can click on this button, and you'll see it's just started dialing their number. So again, that is much more effective. What we've done is we've done some testing, and in situations where in this world that we have voicemail, we used to say a salesperson had to dial the phone 75 times a day. Now what we're finding is if people are getting voicemail, they can dial the phone by clicking a button, leaving a 1-minute voicemail, and they're doing about 50 calls per hour, as opposed to 75 in a day, because it eliminates all the issues of misdials, etc. We've also toyed with the idea of having an auto dialer that when they finish one phone call and they document the note and push the button, it automatically goes to the next record and dials the phone. So there's no downtime between calls either.
Keep
So
them working, huh?
a lot of the things that I do are about making people more efficient, productive, and sounding much more intelligent than they may be on their own. So that's been my key to why I like software and programming. So not that I love the programming, but I like what it does. So this concept is really simple. Pretty much what we're using is a timer. So from the web side, what we're doing is anytime that let me open up the code. So on this screen, to show you the first thing, come on. Maybe. Now connecting to my database, so sometimes, and the SCM is on the web server, so sometimes this goes a little bit slow. Seems like right now is one of those times. Here we go.
This is when you wish that was a local server, huh?
Yes, yes. But I also prefer that it's on rack space and they're taking care of making sure it's always working, because I know very little about servers. All right, so in the situation where I showed you, if we clicked on a line, it would pull up the website. Pretty much all we're doing is in the row select. Where is it? Select. Okay. Pretty much what we're doing is, as they click on select, it's creating an item in what I call an action file, my action data file. It's creating the date and the time. It's telling you who did the actual click. It's telling you what action it's going to need to perform. And then basically it builds the string, which was pretty much coming from the company, and then it using the string build to add the part number to it, so it searches the proper part number on their site. And then what it does is it sets it up as a completed being 1, which is a new, because we have stages that it goes in. And then we're saving that to the data file. So that's how we generate what website to pull up in the browser on the WinDev side.
So you're
In
logging
reference,
that as you go then, Dan? So that's
yeah, which
basically
is
your log
also,
of actions?
yes, and that has also worked out very well too, because what we're finding is if you've ever had salespeople, they like to do their job when they have to, and some do actually will do the job, but a lot of them find other things that they want to do, and it's pretty interesting to see what people are clicking on, as well as people that they're calling. So we can kind of keep track of what people are doing and making sure that, you know, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. As far as dialing the phone, same exact concept. We're finding the phone numbers, and in this situation, we've got main phone numbers or direct dial phone numbers. So this code up here is pretty much looking up the contact. If the contact has a phone number, great. If not, then we go and we get the company's main phone number. After that, once again, all we do is we create an action record, and this phone call is a 1. And again, it's new, and it defines which item that we're going to be looking at, and then it sets it up. So that basically, when you're on the web, all it's doing is saying, okay, this is what I want to do, post an action. Now on the flip side, we have the WinDev. And let me get into that project. Okay, and what I've done is on the window, when it opens up, is I set up a timer. Okay, and this timer fires off once per second. So every second it says, are there any actions that are new that I need to take care of for this specific user? So we set up an index basically saying, okay, look for new actions for this user and look for them in priority order. So what we've done is we said, okay, if the action form says case 1, that's a phone call. If it's 2, I want you to display a web page. If it's 3, I want you to go out to a specific website, and we've also built what's, a scraper to go get data, because that's, again, another thing. These people are going to websites, and then they have to look at the website and then fill out a form. So we said, well, that's a waste of time. Since we already have the data on the screen, we're going to scrape it. So this actually will take them to a website, and it'll pull all the data and load it onto that form in the data file and then display it to the screen. 4 is to answer an incoming call. 5 is to put the call on hold. 6 is to resume the call, and 7 would be to hang up on the call. So basically all it's doing is, and then we have code that we've figured out to work with Skype, so it will now turn around and execute the process. After it executes the process, whether it be a phone call or a web page. Okay, example here, we've got the outbound phone call. Okay, it says, all right, what's going on? First thing it does is it moves it to a 2 this way, because since the timer is firing off every second, you don't want to call the guy every second. So we immediately switch it the first time to a 2, so it takes it out of that action queue, modifies it. Then we format the phone number, and then we basically will, and you'll see this is from one of their LST things, because it's in French still. We dial the phone. If the phone number is not valid, it fails. Same thing here. We say, okay, if it's a website, where's the web page that we're going to, and execute the process. Go get the web page and then tell it it's complete. And you'll see here, when I clicked on Galco, it loaded that information. Let me move it over a little bit. When I clicked on Galco, it loaded the information. I clicked on PLC, it loaded the information. Then I went back to Galco. Then I decided to dial phone numbers. So it just loads the phone numbers in here. Originally, this information would have said 1, and then once it performed the process, it either changed to 2 or 3 and then closed it out. So the next time it loops through, it's going to bypass all of these. It's going to look for the next one that shows a 1. And then over here, it shows who they were calling, who the contact was, as well as who the person was that was going to do it. And where's my form? And then which action it was going to perform. So in summary for this one, really quite simple. If you want activities to occur in a WinDev site on your desktop, and you're using a WebDev project, and I know there's other ways, because when I asked this on the Skype group, people were talking about web services and other ways to do it, which I don't necessarily understand yet. So I've used timers. I said, okay, that's one I understand. Let me go with that. So pretty much in your WebDev site, if you want an action to occur, you create a data file, you post it in there, and then on the WinDev side, what you do is you run a timer and you check that file every X amount of time, whether it's a half a second, every 2 hours, whatever your choice is, and then you act upon it from there. So that's what I have. Any questions on that one?
I have a question. Instead of remembering all these actions, can you make it a constant, and so you know what 1, 2, and 3 is? And
I'm sure you can. I've seen, I know with Andy's, I've seen he's got equate and he's got 1, 2, 3s. And again, I'm unfortunately I've been programming in WinDev now for probably 4 years, but I consider it kind of like my sideshow, because my main priority is I've been running an electronic distributor company. But so I've never really taken the time to totally understand programming from a, from the proper way to do it. I'm more of a get her done type guy.
yeah.
In the last month, I'm now sitting here saying, okay, not only do I want it to work, but I want to know why it works, and I want to know how it works, and I want to know what you can actually do with it. So I
Well, you got the
am,
job done, right? That's the key
yeah,
thing.
it
And know you
works.
can. And know you can. That's the thing.
Right. So, I mean, I definitely want to start getting some more better programmer disciplines in place and starting to make use of better techniques and strategies. So that's why I ask a lot of questions on Skype, and everybody's been great and helped me out a lot. So I'm getting there. But yes, I guarantee you, if you were to talk to some of the guys that do this for a living, um, they could probably make a huge amount of improvements in the code that you see here.
Well, the thing is, if you have something working, you can always refactor. But what you've done is you got your end goal done. That's the key thing. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love it because, I see people now, banging out 4 times the activity that they used to, as well as, when I say to a guy, hey, what's going on, and they say blah, 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 I just go and I look right in here and I say, all right, well, let me tell you what you have done today. I have complete documentation of everything they're doing throughout my entire system.
Yeah, you got the power. I mean, so this
So
database, this table here that has logs, everything they do you purge that out every so often, or is it just one continuous log of what happened every day for everybody?
I did purge it for this just because we keep adding more things. What we're finding is, once you start working with this concept, and again, for me being a productivity type guy, it's pretty exciting because I'm like, oh wow, you can pull web pages up. Oh, you can dial their phone. Oh, you can do this. You can do, all of a sudden you start thinking, well, what else can I do? So every time I add a new feature, of course, I add a new bug and then I break it. So right now I've been purging it, but we are keeping the data on a secondary file because this way we do have the complete history if we ever need to go back. But this data file is so tiny, there's no real heavy duty stuff in it. So I could have, hundreds of thousands of records in here or millions of records, and it really wouldn't consume
Not a big
space or
deal.
slow it down.
Okay. Hey, Juan is asking, where can we find more information on that Skype app play
On the Skype
telephone
functionality,
function? Yeah.
that came in one of PC Soft's LST magazines. So I can look up where it came from. I mean, I don't believe I'm allowed to give that to anyone, considering they charge everybody for that.
Yeah.
So, that I think would cross an ethical line as far as PC Soft was concerned. But yeah, I mean, if you go back to the LSTs, and I'll find that and I'll post that up on Skype, and you can get that information. I mean, I find those LST magazines a wealth of knowledge because, when I sit there and look at the help screens for WinDev, a lot of times I say, wow, that's a really cool function, but what do you use it for? Where they give a lot of great examples inside of the LSTs as far as real world situations. So that helps me connect what the function is and what you would use it for and how it would benefit you. Not that I'm selling, I don't get any commission from PC Soft by pushing their LSTs, by the way. So, no, I
Yeah,
don't read
Chris.
French. I don't read French, but what I can do is I take the LST and I scan it in, and then I use Google Translate.
There's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a function, I mean, I again, I can't speak for anyone else, but I know sometimes, having the answer is worth a lot more time, saves me a lot of time and money as opposed to spending anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 years trying to figure it out. Like I can tell you, if you were to go back on Skype, I think it's a year or two ago, I have been asking nonstop how to set up multiple websites on an IIS site on average every couple months. And nobody has been able to answer that question for me. And then, some people, they've been able to, they can do it in others like Apache, but I'm trying to stick with all the recommended tools that PC Soft recommends, and they certainly talk a lot about IIS. So, whether it's to, for me, it may have taken a day to figure out how to translate the Skype and pay $75 for the magazine, where I don't think I ever would have figured it out on my own. So
There you go.
I believe on asking questions and paying a few dollars if it's going to get me to my endpoint quicker.
Exactly. Any other questions? Otherwise, Dan wants to go learn more programming.
That's
so
right.
he can give more webinars. This is great, man.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for joining. I hope some of these things will help some of you out in the future.
Yeah, we got a good showing today too. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Amazing, Dan. Great stuff. You see the comments in the chat there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Look forward to seeing you again, Dan.
Okay, Arnold. Thanks.
Okay, take care. Thank you for volunteering.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye-bye.
For the rest of you guys, one of the things Tim wanted to tell you was that the WX DevCon 2014, go to the website for more information, wxdevcon.com. Thanks again. Dan, Juan raised his hand. What is his? Juan, what do you have? You can speak up if you have your mic or type. Oh, mistake. Okay. Okay, stopping the recording now. Thanks again. Bye.